Hey, everybody, this is Paul Ash. It's time for They Talk Funny. My guest tonight is Leonard Chan. Please welcome to the screen, Leonard Chan. Leonard, how are you doing? You are a veteran of the Halifax Comedy Festival, the Winnipeg Comedy Festival, the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. You've written for This Hour is 22 Minutes. You're a comedian, you're a writer, and you got into the game late. Sorry for just jumping right in.
No, good. We don't have time for small talk right now. It's a pandemic. Let's just get going.
Just bring on it. I've been doing coke, so
nice.
it's yeah. So that got me all energized. For those of you who are just watching, drop a hi in the chat if you want to let us know where you're watching from. That's always nice. And if you have any questions for Leonard, you can also drop those into the chat. We'll bring them up on screen and talk about you with it, so you can watch.
Do an impromptu roast. That'll be fun.
Yeah, exactly. Get the roast done. So you were 30 years old before the first time you stepped on stage, which seems like that'll be about 2 years' time from now. You look very young.
30? I was.
Were you 30?
Oh, no. I was 36. Yeah, 36. Maybe 37. Okay. I don't know. I've lost track of all time. I mean, time has no meaning anymore, right? So for all I know, I'm 73 right now.
Okay, that makes man. I'm usually the one that people have a hard time guessing the age of. I was born in the 60s. I'll just throw that out there.
I was born in the 70s, so
you're born in the 70s. So all right, not a big difference. We're within probably 10 years of each other. So you started. Why did you wait so long? Why were you in your mid to late 30s before you started stand up?
Well, I mean, I had another career. I never really thought of stand up as a career. Like I was an engineer. I have 2 degrees in engineering. I spent 20 years designing systems to clean up oil spills, and then I got into comedy because I got married, and my brother-in-law is a comedian.
Oh, okay.
He's out in Vancouver. His name's Colin Sharp. Very funny. He was running an open mic. Yeah. He was running an open mic in Vancouver. I was out there for work because I traveled a lot for work then. And I was like, I want to try it because I was like a huge fan of comedy growing up. Like my first album I ever bought was Bill Cosby's album, which, I mean, it's not cool.
Didn't age well. Yeah.
Didn't age well. My second album was Michael Jackson. So I don't know. Is it me? I think it might be me.
Leonard, if I could just put those out there right now, never buy my albums.
Oh, okay, deal.
I give them away. That's okay. There's and you had album come out. When did your album come out?
I dropped it March 13th. 2020, literally the day of the pandemic. The day it was officially declared a pandemic.
Wow. All right. Yeah. So people ended up being stuck at home. So hopefully that helped sales.
It didn't hurt. I ended up I can't use words. It ended up getting like reviews from people who never would have looked at it, but they were so bored. They had like nothing else they couldn't go out to see shows. They couldn't go out to see movies, theater, nothing. They're like, please just send me what you have or I will go insane. And so, I ended up getting some press for things that normally it should, in any other time, it wouldn't have happened.
I like the fact that you went from like designing systems to save the world to let's tell dick jokes.
Yeah, I mean, when I was saving the world, I still like dick jokes, and I would just get paid for them.
I agree. Like the fact that you started late. Like I would have assumed you could have kind of got into comedy as a hobbyist earlier. Like the hobbyist type performers who are out there, but you jumped in 2 feet first, like going right into the cold water, and ended up making a career out of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, what happened was, so I started as a writer. So when I was doing all the engineering stuff, I actually was writing. So I was trying to like get into screenwriting, writing movies, TV, and such. And then we, trying to get movies. And it's, I don't know if you write as well, but like it's hard to get stuff made. It's like very, very difficult. Like we were close a few times. Like I had like John Stamos attached to a project, and we had like a few $1 million in funding. But then he got Fuller House, and so then he dropped out. So one of the many ways in which Full House has ruined my life. And
What are some of the others? Sorry, that begs a. How else is
literally a throwaway line that was was not meant to be subject to any level of scrutiny or following up.
Careful, I'll do that with your answers.
Okay, well, that's okay. I will tell you each time whether or not it was a joke.
Okay, cool. My goal in life is to be told when things are jokes.
But yeah, I know. So I wanted to be a writer, and then what happened is like just things weren't getting made. I was just putting everything in drawers, and I was like, well, nobody else is going to say my words. I guess I'm going to have to do it. So then I was like, yeah, let's try stand up. And the strategy was if I can. Well, I just wanted to have fun first of all, and do this thing that seemed fun and challenging, and I honestly didn't expect it to go anywhere. I'll be perfectly 100%. I expected to be working as an engineer for the rest of my life and just be doing that, but then have this fun little thing on the side to keep me sane.
Yeah.
And like this, my career is essentially a hobby that got way out of control. And it may be like somewhat coupled with a midlife crisis. Because I remember I was reading about, when I turned 40 a few years ago, I was reading about like, well, what's a midlife crisis look like? And like, they're like, well, you start making rash decisions and like leaving perfectly stable careers to try new strange things. And I was like, oh my God, my current career is a midlife crisis.
Okay, this also just another question is because I've watched a few clips of yours. You mentioned you just got married. Is that your first marriage, or did you just marry late?
I married
was it
late.
lie?
No. So when I first started comedy, I had just gotten married.
Okay.
So I was like 35, 46. Yeah. 35. I think that's like, yeah, in that range, something like, I don't remember specifically. It's a blur. But yeah, so when I was on stage talking about getting married, like I had just gotten married. So you're probably looking at like earlier material. Like I started off with just marriage material, write what you know, right? So it's just all the things that were happening and yeah.
So how would you describe your comedy? I mean, you've got a little bit of puns, you've got storytelling.
I'd like to think it's clever. I'd like to think that wordplay is kind of my jam. I think I like playing with words. It's fun for me. It tickles my brain. Like I don't do rants really. Like I started doing them kind of over the pandemic because anger over the pandemic, but generally
questions about that a little later.
For sure. Yeah, like generally I just like writing clever jokes and like, but I want to talk about important things. Like when I first started, it was like, marriage, cats, and like dick jokes, whatever. And I wasn't at the stage, like I think every comic goes into it going, I'm going to talk about important things. I'm going to be Carlin. I'm going to do this and that. And then they go on and they watch Carlin and they watch him seemingly rant, but they don't know enough about the craft to realize how crafted Carlin's rants are. So then people are just going on stage going blah, 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 and just like being angry, but it's like there are no jokes. You have not included any jokes in your rant. So when I first started, I experimented a lot. Like I started as a one-liner comic. Like I had like a character, like I was like this quiet, like unassuming Asian. I would tell really horrific one-liner, like just not my brand at all, but the joke structure was there. It was really an exercise in what can I get away with if I have good joke structure, really.
Yeah.
And then
anytime people mention Carlin, well, Carlin does these rants, and okay, look at early Carlin.
Yeah.
Early
exactly.
Carlin, was pet jokes, was guys in the neighborhood jokes.
Exactly.
And the simpler joke structure he evolved into the rants.
Exactly. So yeah, and I wanted to talk about important things, but I also wasn't good enough to do it. And I think luckily recognized that early, was like, I'm not going to try to tackle these really difficult topics yet, like, you know, like things that are affecting me personally that I have things to say about, like racism or whatever, then yeah, I can start talking about that. But like, you know, yeah, like I wasn't gonna write a 7-minute abortion bit like a minute into, like a year into my career. Uh,
So, I just want to greet all the people who are joining us now. I'm Paul Ash. I'm talking. We are like the royal we. I guess I'm white enough for it. But there's we've got Leonard Chan is here. We're going to be. I should be pointing that way. We're going to be talking about his comedy styles, comedy writing. As well as everything that's happened in the past year. So welcome in, drop a comment, and we'll keep watching this. Make sure you hit the like button. Okay, so yeah, you clever comedy. That is the comedy, because you want to be nice and cerebral, but still drop the odd dick joke in there.
yeah, but it's got to be a clever dick joke.
Clever dick jokes. So a Richard joke.
The Richard jokes, yeah. Actually, the first time my parents ever saw me do comedy, I was doing a show at the Glen Gould Theatre, the CBC building, and beautiful theater. And so my parents came out. It was a publicized show. Like Kathleen Wynne was there, Olivia Chow, like a lot of people came out to watch this show. And it was being filmed. We had, for eventual release, it was a special. And then I was told, hey, but the producer, they're like, keep it clean because we don't know who we're selling this to yet, right? Because there wasn't like a deal in place. So I was like, okay, so. But I looked at all the material I had left, and I had like already sold like social material for like other festivals, other networks, and I was like, crap, what do I have left? And then all I had were like dick jokes. So then I was just like, okay, well, I can't say dick. So I was just saying penis. But if you say penis a lot of times in a row, it's so much worse than dick. So much worse. And so then after the
CBC won't censor it.
Yeah. Then after the show, I remember my dad came up to me and he hugged me, which never happens. Like, it's not like a thing that Asians do. And then he like whispers in my ear. He was like, great show. Too much penis. Which is something I've always wanted to hear, by the way. I've always wanted to hear, just not from my dad,
And boom, your parents get a little bit of grief in your act.
Yeah, they said. They tell me that in life.
How much of that is deserved? Do you think it's?
None. They're the most amazing people in the world, and I should feel more guilty about it, but I think they know that it's just for comedy. Like my mom will get on my case. My dad's like, it's for his career. It's fine. But they're amazing.
Alex is giving us an eggplant emoji. Just too much penis.
Too much penis. I tried when I did the last Halifax Comedy Festival. I was very cognizant of like, I'm possibly painting my parents in a way that's like not flattering. So like, I very much like tried to be. Oh, no, they're amazing parents. I love them. They're incredible. I owe them everything. And then CBC cut that. Cut it from the taping. So I'm like, it never made air. And I was like, I tried. I tried to be a good son on TV, and CBC was not down with it.
I have had run-ins with standards and practices, like in the States. I was editing, like doing the pre-edit for a show to be sold to a Christian network, and they wanted to make sure all the comics were clean.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, so I edited a Kevin James routine where he talks about ordering pizza with his friends.
Yeah.
And it says like you've got 4 friends, and then the pizza arrives and it's cut in 6 pieces. And that really sucks because then you have to do the quick pizza math.
Yeah.
Like who's going to be the one person only getting 1 piece? They rejected it because it had the word sucks.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
That was just even in the setup. It was just like the amount that we'd have to comb through all the material. It
Yeah.
just wasn't worth it.
Yeah, they're just like, you can't say sucks because that's it implies fellatio, which is you can't have that in the Bible. You can't have blowjobs or blowjobs, I guess, whatever however you pronounce it.
Vong Show, I believe that might be the producer you had
Yeah, for the
in
Glenn Gould
question.
show. Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome, Vong. Thank you
Hey.
for popping in. That's so. You've been working. Are you still working for this hour?
Yeah, this is our last week before we wrap for the season.
And are you working remotely or
Yeah,
you are?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So there's a bunch of writers all over that are not in Halifax. Like we have writers here. We had them in Newfoundland, LA, and then there's all the writers that are in Halifax, and they actually all have to be in the same room and do things. And
To bounce the ideas, etc. So
yeah,
a
yeah,
little
yeah.
easier than
But yeah, we're just all having Zoom calls here in Toronto.
in Toronto. Yeah, Halifax was kind of luckier. I'm originally from Halifax,
Oh, nice.
so yeah. It's did you spend any time living in Halifax or
No,
no?
because I've only worked for them during pandemic. So yeah, at what point we had an office in Toronto, and so this is fun. We had an office in Toronto. It was at downtown, so we had to go in every day. And then we were doing an episode where we were writing jokes for an interview with Justin Trudeau because he wanted to go on 22 and plug the COVID Alert app.
Right.
And so I was sitting there trying to come up with jokes for the COVID Alert app. So I grabbed my phone and I opened the COVID Alert app so I could be like, okay, what's the deal with this thing? What joke's gonna make? And then it was like, you've been exposed to COVID. And I was like, what the and I was like, guys, I'm sorry, but I exposed to COVID. And then we're like, everybody out, cleared out. And then we left the office and we never went back. Like they shut it down. We've been working from home ever since. And I was like last October.
That I think you in one of your stand-up specials you addressed that or one of your stand-up recordings. I think you addressed the was it that? I'm trying to remember. Sorry, I've been watching a lot of your videos. I love the
Nice.
Chandemics.
You're one of the only ones.
You'll see the past numbers are going up. How many episodes of the Chandemic did you do?
Maybe like 7. I think that's it. They were really like, I only started them because like pandemic started and I was like, I need to do something. Like, what else am I going to do? And I was like, I don't want to, I was very cognizant of like, I don't want to waste this time. Like it would be really easy to waste this time. And, because I was supposed to be on tour. I was supposed to be on tour last year and then everything got canceled. Right. So I was like, all right. So then I was like, let's learn new skills. And I didn't know how to I was just learning how to edit and I wanted to learn how to color correct and film stuff. So I was like, let's make these Chandemics and see how it goes. And that's actually how I got the 22 minutes job, actually.
Oh, well, so definitely it wasn't just new skills. It was like how can I say it? So people can find them on your Instagram.
Yes, or YouTube.
Leonard Chan on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
And all the links are pretty much on your website too. So
yeah,
the
it should be.
Leonard Chan.
Yeah, if you go to just leonardchan.com, it's like a CEO in Hong Kong who's much more successful than I am.
Yeah, but did he marry Jackie Chan?
No, we did not.
No, he did not. Sorry, I just spoiled one of your jokes. There's
it's okay. Like 2 other comics use that anecdote in their jokes. Like my brother-in-law uses it because I married his sister and turned her into Jackie Chan. And then a friend of mine, Joe Vu, another comic in Toronto, he uses that as, because we always get confused for one another, even though we don't look anything alike.
Okay.
Because, racism. But like basically, like when comedy was going, like literally once every 2 weeks, somebody would be like, hey, like Joe, or like say, call him Leonard. And like anytime, like, we'd be doing shows in the same venue. Like if we'd be at a comedy bar, I'd be like out in the bar area, like getting a drink. And I'd just shown up to the bar, just grabbed a drink. And somebody would come up to me and be like, yo, that was such a funny set. And I'll be like, all right, so Joe performed tonight and he did well. Good to know.
Has your writing habits changed since you started writing for this hour?
Oh, well, I mean, I have to write much more frequently.
Yeah.
So, have they changed? No, I mean, it's always. I mean, other than the fact that with like 22, it's a fairly rigid schedule.
Mhm.
It's like Mondays, Tuesdays, we write sketches. Wednesdays, we rewrite the sketches based on like table read, cast reads. Thursday, Friday, we do desk pieces, copy jokes. Weekend, we refine desk pieces, more copy jokes. Monday, they film, and then we do it all over again. So it's just constant. It's constant writing, but it's good. Like it's interesting because the more you write sketches, then you get into sketch brain and you start being like, oh, this could be a sketch, that could be a sketch, and how do you put that together? And then if you're writing a lot of copy jokes, it's just a muscle, right? It's just you're exercising this muscle. If you write a lot of copy jokes, suddenly all these joke structures in your brain, and then you look at topics and you're like, how do I attack this? And you know all these different ways to get into the joke, and all these like different like what do I call them? Like linking phrases, I think is the best way to say it, I suppose. Like where it's like, because copy jokes are like you say the thing, like the news, whatever the thing is, and then joke. And so there's always like the link between the news itself and then and the joke. There's like, Laurie Kilmartin, who's an amazing joke writer, like she has like a list of like 100 of these things. Like when you say this, and then these are ways to get into the next joke, into the joke. And then, so then you can just, the more you do it, the more these different things are like embedded into your brain, and then it just goes. Yeah. Then you just become a joke machine, and it's, then it's a sweatshop.
So your parents' goal is alive. You moved to Canada to work at a sweatshop.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. They moved here so I wouldn't have to work at a factory, and here I am.
Now, prior to this hour, what was your writing schedule and habits like? Were you one of those people that like every day I've got to do my morning pages, or
I wasn't disciplined like that. I wasn't like, I didn't have a schedule like I must write here, but I would just write. Like I never had to force myself to write. It was just always because it's just a thing I do. It's a thing I need to do. So, like I'm always writing, all the time.
Now you've drawn on your history, like a little bit, like unlike, well, most there are exceptions, obviously. Most comics have not been athletes prior. You were an equestrian show jumper.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're going to use the horse did most of the work. Okay. Like it's not like I was an athlete. I stayed on the horse. That's
all right. But like the show jumping and the steeplechase, that's what was it? Steeplechase is show jumping.
It's just show jumping. And I didn't do it that much. In fact, what happened is I became allergic to horses. I developed an allergy and I had to stop.
All right, so it made an amusing anecdote, which you eventually got to use. So you never went to like Olympic level.
Oh no. Like so when I was a kid, I did gymnastics, and it was to a point where it's like, okay, you either start training for the Olympics or you go to school. And my parents were like, school, and so then that's it. I didn't do much I mean, I started doing acrobatics again in my mid-30s.
Just and to like married.
And then I'm married, yeah. Yeah, because when you're married, it's a lot of backflips.
Yeah.
Hey-o.
A little flip flop to keep happy.
Well, exactly. But yeah. So I did gymnastics. I did breakdancing. Like I mean, I like to generally just be active. But yeah, I wouldn't say athlete by any stretch.
As you say to the man who's shaped like a potato. There it is.
Just potato, gender neutral. We have learned. Did you do any performance when you were younger, when you were in school? I mean, your parents gave you the opportunity to do the gymnastics, to do the equestrian show jumping. Was there any performative thing that you did, or any attraction? Did you, in high school, did you go to drama club or? No. I was like really shy. I never wanted to be on stage. The one time there was a play in school, I was like, I will paint the background. That's what I will do. I will be set designer and paint the background. and I was not in it. And then I think in grade 6 we were forced to do Shakespeare. I think we did Twelfth Night, and I was like, I will still be background, no lines. That's it. I really, stage fright. Didn't want to do any of that stuff.
So what did you do to kind of get out of this, other than, you've aged and you've had more world experience, and your brother-in-law was running this open mic?
Yeah.
What flipped in you? Was it, life through better medication? Did you get over some anxiety pills? Or?
I never had anxiety about it. I just didn't want to do it. And I think what happened is, like for my job, like I say, I was an engineer designing systems cleanables, but it was actually engineering sales. Like I would design those systems as part of like a value add to sell like remediation chemicals. And so that required a lot of presentations, a lot of sales presentations. Like I was constantly public speaking in front of a lot of people. And so like at least 2 or 3 times a week, I'm in front of like 50 to 200 people for like 10 years. So like public speaking, that was never really the issue. It was just really more writing material, like working on that stuff. And then developing performance, because obviously when I'm talking about remediation chemicals, like I'm not like vamping,
But you're finding that you're repeating it over and over again because different large groups that you're doing it to, and so you're finding like the structure beat of the performance of making that sales.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like with engineering, like any sort of technical sales, it's just a matter of like really understanding what you're selling, like really understanding the technology and being able to answer any question. And then it's just like, and then every presentation is kind of tailored because you try to figure out like what's the need, what's the pain point for the customer, and then you ask questions, you figure that stuff out, and then you can be like address all this stuff. Do they want stuff to be cheap? Do they want stuff to be really whatever, you know how it goes. And then but I would try to incorporate humor into it, because like the more you can make somebody laugh, the more that's like a Trojan horse for what you really want to tell them.
They're more engaged.
Yeah, which is how I look at my comedy now, where it's like I want to talk about more important things, but it's got to be funny first and foremost.
This is a great way to do it. When you write, what tools do you use? Are you a keyboard person, or do you are? Okay.
Yeah. I type really fast. So that helps. That helps with being efficient at writing. Like I type so fast that I will type Freudian slips. And then I'll have to go back and be like, oh, like my brain thought the word, and then I had to go back and be like, oh yeah, it's a totally different
word. But sometimes it works. Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, what I mean to like write, but when you mean to write one thing and then you write a mother, it's like not.
A mother, definitely good one.
I literally stole that joke from Cheers. I got to give them credit.
All right. Damn it, my memory's going. There is now. Before you take something actually to the stage, how much do you refine it ahead of time?
Nowadays, I mean a little bit, not as much as I used to, but only because like.
You've gotten better at editing.
I've gotten better. Yeah, exactly. At the beginning, a ton. And it'd be like, oh, this is so wordy. Like there's so many like dead spots, and there's this and that. And one of the things a friend of mine, he would do, and it was very cringy to do it, but it was very helpful, it was called the webcam test. So you basically record yourself saying it to a webcam, watch it back, anywhere, and then you'll see all the dead spots, and you know which words to cut. You're like, oh, that's too long, that's too long, that's too long, and you see where all the laugh points are supposed to be. And then and it's one of those things where if I giggle, if I don't cringe, then it's okay. If I cringe, I cut it, and then if I laugh, then it's like, oh, that's probably going to be an applause break.
That's brilliant, by the way. I've only really caught up to the point of like voice recording yourself ahead of time, so I can go back and listen to it to make it sound more conversational when you're on stage. The fact that you're doing it to a webcam means you're bringing in the visual element as well, because the visual element is like, that's what live stand-up is. I mean, it's you sell so much with your face, you sell so much with your body actions. You are the first person. This is episode 45.
Yeah.
You are the first person who's mentioned recording themselves not on stage.
Oh yeah.
Of all that. So whoever your friend was that suggested that to you,
Oh,
kudos
it's
to them.
brilliant.
Kudos to you for doing it as well.
Yeah. Well, because here's the thing. It's like I'm an engineer, so I'm trained to look for efficiencies.
Yeah.
And also, one of the big things was when I first started comedy, I had a full time job. Like, I didn't have time to like go out and do like 5 open mics and like grind. I could maybe get 2 or 3 sets in a week, maybe at
Right.
most. So it was like I have to make the most of this stage time. So when I went in, I was like, so let's skip a step, right? Because like recording yourself and cutting all that stuff out, that's like 1 or 2 open mics already that I've just eliminated from the process. And then I can get to like the real iterative process of like which laughs are consistent, what's gonna work, and I mean I think every comic has. I'm sure, like you used to. I assume you recorded all your sets, or like you record the audio and all that stuff, right?
Not all of
But
them, but I've recorded a lot. So
yeah,
and going back and listening to them is the big trick
that's the
that so
hard
many
part,
people
right?
skip. Yeah.
That is the hard part. So,
Yeah.
but what I learned is like, because I know I don't want to do that because it's so cringy. But like, because I have everything written out. Right after I get off stage, I would go into my notes where I had the bit written, and I'd be like, okay, this joke worked, this joke didn't, this joke is a maybe, this joke didn't, this joke worked, blah blah blah, and I'll just go
And how did
through
I skip this line? Yeah.
and how to skip this line, all that stuff, and then I would go back, refine it based on the data I had received, and then
Engineer
I
brain.
would engineer brain, and then I'll go back because that's all it is. That's all open mics are. That's all like any shows are. It's just acquiring data to refine your product. That's it. Because this is all comedy. It's show business. Like we're the product and we're just selling it to the
Selling.
audience.
No, no, I fully agree. That's one of the reasons I've been doing this is this is the target for this is to be more other stand-up comics who are, it's just generally not a great marketing plan, but it's the idea is like we pull back the veil. So
Yeah.
you're breaking it down to the main points. So
Yeah.
I definitely want to thank you, Leonard. You're a brilliant guest. I love this. Now you some of the stuff I in my research, uh, I also, picking on your parents. Some people found that you were anti-Chinese.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that surprises you, or is
Um,
it? I'm not sure
wait,
if
wait,
they're
wait. Is
referring to
this
the government or to like some of the material. I think it's more government from what I saw because
Oh, well, I mean, that's I mean, that's an okay side of history to be on, I think.
yeah.
So, okay.
Well,
Like
until
anti-Chinese
they
as a people? No, I love the Chinese. Anti-Chinese, anti-genocide. Yeah, I'm definitely against that, even though it's, probably better for the environment.
you brought up you kind of made it sort of like a tag that I've seen on a couple of your videos about because the Chinese government's going to take over the world.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean,
that
that's just a fact. I mean, I'm not trying to be controversial. I'm just laying out what's going to happen.
they own 30% of the U.S. currency.
Yeah.
Yeah, debt.
Yeah, and they're also colonizing Africa, and they're like, I mean, they're doing it. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna happen. Like the American hegemony is done. It's done.
Yeah. All right. For this hour kind of fact, have you seen any of the rabbit hole about the fact that which Chinese emperor there was a fleet that actually settled in Cape Breton. So there's some people
Oh,
who are trying to prove that some foundation structures are of Chinese origin in Cape
oh.
Breton. You've never heard about this little rabbit hole?
No, that's awesome. That's great. You know why? You know what? That's actually really, really perfect. Because I got to film a field piece this week for 22 minutes about the history of of Chinese people in Canada and how we've affected Chinese Canadian culture, and we've friggin' built Cape Breton. Okay, that's amazing.
This is hugely
Speculative.
this is speculative, like right
Yeah,
up there with no, it's
like aliens
I
built
think
the pyramids. Is that where we're at with this?
it's kind of on that. They brought a lot of because the Mi'kmaq people had a different fashion sense
Yeah.
in the fashion, and they drew the parallels
Mm.
between that and Chinese wardrobe at the time,
Huh.
some of the symbology, and Glooskap possibly being a Chinese educator who were
Hmm.
educating the Mi'kmaq people or Micmac people.
Interesting. Yeah.
Uh, it's a little rabbit hole if you want to take a look down
I will. I
into
for
the
sure will. That's fascinating.
uh, there. Now, we're going to kind of move into, I guess,
Yeah.
what has been happening in the past year. We've already touched on it
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Sorry, something happened this year.
Yeah, so something happened. I know it's like you don't know how many years you've aged in the past year. This is everything kind of like the shutdown happened. By the
Yeah.
way, you were exposed. Have you tested positive? Did you have
No,
COVID?
I've been tested for COVID like 5 times. I've been negative every time. So
Congratulations. Keep that up.
thank you. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I've
uh,
always tested well. I studied. I studied.
I'm
Okay,
trying.
like I'm an Asian.
I'm not trying to make yeah. I'm not going to say your parents must be proud. There's. I'm cringing at myself here. I don't feel good. But like in this past year, so you started the Chandemic, which we already mentioned, which is on the Instagram,
Yeah.
the Instagram,
The Instagram. Yeah.
because it's the Leonard Chan on Instagram.
Yeah. Please
You've
watch
got
so somebody watches.
yeah, exactly. Keep putting out content there. So you mentioned you were bad at putting out content. So if
I
you keep
am. I don't have time right now. Like that's the problem. Like, because 22 is like all consuming. And like doing one of these things, it's like I gotta write it, I gotta edit it. And that's like
mm,
hours of work. So it's hard to find an hours when you're working on a
yeah,
few shows.
exactly. Now a few shows. Now you did make it as a finalist. So is this hour the only thing you're running for? Because you just said a few shows.
I'm I'm writing for a kids TV show on
Okay.
TVO. I'm writing for a CBC Gem series. And I'm working on a CBC pilot uh, as part of the Creative Relief Fund, which
Is that
you may
for
have
the home?
uncovered. No, that's something else.
Okay.
That is something that I pitched at the Just for Laughs stand up and pitch thing in 2018. Uh, and
You were a
so
finalist there
I
as
was a
well. So
finalist there, and I've pitched that to all the Canadian networks, and I have been rejected soundly by all of them. But the nice thing is that means it's only 3 rejection letters to frame, so it saves on costs. Uh, and then I moved on to a different project. So like I'm currently working on a project called Second Language, although the name's going to change. But it's about a self-proclaimed small-town Canadian hoser who does not want to die in the small town, so he moves to the big city, gets the only job he can get, which is teaching ESL to immigrants.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This in my history, I learned German as a small kid from
Yeah.
my cousin, and then when I
Okay.
finally got the chance to go to Germany, like over 10 years later, I found out I spoke German with a Newfoundland accent. It was not. It's sadly a true story. Uh, so you have the Chandemic. You've been writing all these shows. You've been writing for this hour's 22 minutes.
Mhm.
You feel like you've been busier with the pandemic than
I have never been this busy in a long time. I what like the last time I've been this busy, I think was in school when I was like doing engineering. Because I was like 40 hours of class a week, and then 40 hours of homework and labs and whatever, and then plus whatever else you had to do. But like, yeah, I'm working like 12 to 16-hour days like every day, including weekends. So I haven't had any time off in a year.
yeah. And is your wife does she work? Is she distance working,
She's the
telecommuting as
same.
well?
She's been working an enormous amount because she's an essential worker. So I mean, unfortunately for her, like somebody went on mat leave. So she manages vet clinics, but that's not what her previous job was. Her previous job was like communications. But then the other like the manager went on mat leave right before pandemic. She took over, and then all of a sudden it was like, now you got to do this job that you've never done and retool everything for a situation that has never happened in our
Happened
lifetimes.
before, yeah.
So good luck. And it has been like I feel bad. Her life is so much harder than my life right now. So I feel real bad for her.
Yeah, that's kudos to your wife taking care, like putting the organization in place to take care of people's pets. That's an essential service. So that's
Yeah.
do you have pets as well?
We
You
have
have pets?
many. We have
You have
many,
many?
many
Because
pets.
I'm not hearing any animals in the background, and usually with these kind of things, occasionally a cat will come in, and I'll say something like, "Oh wow, we've just won the internet." There's
It's only because I'm in the basement and I've closed the door because I don't want them down here. Because right now I haven't had time to clean the basement. It is a mess. It's like storage essentially, and then we're just gonna lose the cats, or they're just gonna pee somewhere, and I'll never find it.
you know what? It's with that wall behind you, it looks like you're on a comedy club stage.
Oh, I know.
Uh,
This is actually I've been doing like all the Zoom, like I've been doing comedy on Zoom, and this has been a godsend. Just having this brick wall.
that's actually what I was going to mention was the online show. So you've been doing the online shows.
Yeah.
What to you? What is the major difference of doing these online Zoom shows compared to?
Well, it's not as intimate, right? I mean, oh well, that's okay. So let me take that back. It can be. In fact, it can be more intimate because you're literally being beamed to people's houses or office or wherever they're watching. And um, I mean, because the audio switching is not always perfect, then you're not as reactive. It's not, it, there is something missing. It's like the difference between playing online poker and playing at a table with somebody.
Okay.
There's just not as much information that you can get to react to what people are doing. And also, because it's on the internet, attention and people are at home, there's so many more distractions. Like in a club, it's like the clubs are designed to ensure that people are not distracted and they focus on the act. But at home, people at home, they have their phones, they have whatever, they can do whatever the hell they want. And so attention spans are so much lower. I was watching a lot of shows at the beginning of the pandemic going like, how do we adjust this art? Because like stand up in its purity will not work on Zoom in its purity. And adjustments have to be made. So, the analogy I made was like, it's kind of like playing basketball. It's like the same game, but your shot clock is 8 seconds.
Okay.
Like you have to like if you lose them for 30 seconds, you're done. Like that's it. You're not going to get them back. So you have to there's three ways basically to ensure that you can maintain their attention, because that's the name of the game. I mean, that's always the name of the game in any form of entertainment or anything really now. It's all attention is the currency that runs the world. So you either have to write a lot of really good jokes and just like blam, 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 and they all have to hit. So, and that's very difficult to do. It's not impossible, but it's hard. Not a lot of people do that well. Storytelling was the second way to do it, because now that gives you a little bit of relief from having to like have blam, blam, blam jokes, because with storytelling, now there's a beginning, middle, end. People are going to stick around to figure out how it is, provided you're telling a good story. Right. But then, so you add storytelling, jokes. And the last thing that I've done, which I don't think anybody else is doing, is I've thrown in visuals. So I run my Zoom shows, I run my webcam through studio software, similar to StreamYard, but I'm using OBS, which is free. And then
StreamYard's free too, but OBS is much more powerful.
Yeah. So I splice like multimedia in. Like I use multimedia as punchlines. I have stuff I can talk over it. I can put in. I can do like how do I describe it? Like vid walls, I guess. Like if you've seen the Chandemics, I can do stuff like that and have things pop up next to my head, that sort of thing. So it's almost like a live vlog or a live newscast or whatever. And I write bits specifically for that, because then the medium. It's a hybrid art now. And it's interesting because it's a different way of writing jokes when you incorporate that stuff in, because now you're like your palette has just grown exponentially, because you can use so much more than just my face and my mouth.
There's a thing. Every city sort of has its own flavor. Like the comedians who come out of Montreal tend to be a bit more flamboyant physically. A lot of the Toronto people don't even pace so much. A lot of them just stay kind of close, leave the mic in the stand. Or if they take it out, they don't move. There's every city sort of has its own kind of flavor to it.
Yeah, a lot of really good writers out of Vancouver.
Yeah, Ottawa, very like different type of thinking.
Are you Montreal or Ottawa?
I'm in Montreal.
Okay. Yeah.
So so every place kind of has its own flavor.
Yeah,
Halifax has its own flavor. A
yeah,
lot of storytellers in St. John's, Newfoundland.
that makes sense.
Uh, it's every place has its own flavor, and they all kind of develop it. So online has become its own flavor, is kind of what you're
Mm.
saying. So
Yeah, but the nice thing about online is because
less of a commute.
well, yeah, I can just come down to my basement and get validation. It's nice. Uh, but also because distance is no longer a factor, I can do shows with people all over the world. I get to do shows with people I never would have met in a million years. Like comics from Germany and like
Germany.
Washington and like across Asia. It's awesome. It's like the thing is this is like I remember at the beginning of the pandemic I was having an anxiety attack because I was like, oh, what if my career's over? What if this is it? I have to be an engineer again. I don't want to do that. And I mean, also I had like a large weed brownie, and that did not help. Uh, but the way I looked at it was, this pandemic is going to be the asteroid that kills the dinosaurs, and you just have to evolve because this might be where comedy is for a long ass time. Have I made TikTok vids? So Lynn Alex, have I made TikTok vids? God, I know I'm supposed to. I know I'm supposed to. I know that is the smart thing to do. I hate social media so much to the point where it's just because I'm old and irrational. That's all it is. And I know I should do it. I'm on TikTok, but only because people are impersonating me on TikTok.
Really? Wow. Okay. I have avoided TikTok because I have family members who used to have security clearances, and
Mm,
they weren't allowed to have phones with TikTok in their
makes
houses.
sense. Yeah, because
So,
China's going to take over the world. We're back to that again.
oh no, I'm gonna now I'm labeled and targeted. Uh, so, what do you think is going to happen with the future? Do you think this hybrid comedy is going to be to survive once the pandemic and the clubs reopen? Do you think that's going to happen?
I,
Lynn Alex is saying it sounds like your writing style and visuals would work. So
yeah, I
thank
think
you.
it would. I just have to. I'm just so. I'm lazy. Is really all it is. I just don't want to like have to learn another thing. But you're absolutely right, Lynn. Like I play poker with this dude. He's like in his like 50s or 60s, and he's just telling me it's like, oh, I go on TikTok and I discover all these comedians, and I was like, fuck, now I have to do TikTok.
So you're not even utilizing your Instagram to the full extent. That's
I'm
the
doing.
Leonard
I
Chan
just.
on Instagram.
It's
Um,
brutal. I'm really bad at it.
Lynn, check that out. Follow him on Instagram. You'll get to see the Chandemics, which, by the way, is a killer name. I just the Chandemics. That's yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
so you think that there is hope for like this new evolution is gonna it
I think so. I think
it's
it's going to die down. Obviously, I don't think you can ever replace live stand up. It's not. It's just a very different experience. So, like live comedy has been around for centuries. So I'm not worried about that not coming back. It's gonna. It'll be different though. I
theater has been
think
around for centuries. Live comedy,
six,
as
70,
we know
80
it,
years maybe.
yes, it's
Right?
like
Like since
50s or so.
vaudeville days. I'll say vaudeville
Well,
would be where it kind of
vaudeville,
began. And
yeah, that was yeah. I would consider that still more theater clownish. I run
yeah,
a vaudeville show,
yeah,
so
yeah. Where they literally had hooks. I always thought
yeah,
that was like, I always
but
thought that was just like a
the
make
Apollo
believe
had a
thing.
hook. But
Yeah,
Apollo had a hook as well.
yeah,
So I mean, but yeah,
yeah.
no, vaudeville had the hooks, but it was all that. So I do a show that has burlesque
Nice.
as well as comedy and music, and so that live show has been on hold for almost a year. We in Montreal we've had a tougher lockdown than Toronto, so I
Mm.
think we were open for 2 to 3 weeks. 2 weeks, I think we had live shows at the end of August, beginning of September, and then we were locked down again. Currently, we have a curfew of 8 p.m. I'm not allowed to be outside of my house at this point.
Yeesh.
Yeah. So that's kind of where that's what driven has driven me online, and
Mhm.
I'm a type of comic that reaches into the audience. I like to
Mm.
pull from the audience. So the online Zooms have been very difficult for me. The Zoomies, as they call them. But I've worked into doing I have a panel show that's like a nerd debate show, but
Mm.
I'm doing this talk show because I want to. I used to know like most of the comics across the country, and I feel like that has dropped off. And I want to reach out to new comics and talk to them about their writing craft.
Yeah. Well, I
So
appreciate
thank
you
you.
having me.
It's
Yeah.
my pleasure, Leonard. There's now something else that has come with the pandemic is, and you've mentioned it a few times in the Chandemic and in other posts, racism against Asians.
Yeah.
What like? Let's hear it from you. Like for people listening, this is. I think it's kind of important to like for people to chill the fuck out and realize that Donald Trump didn't speak the truth that one time. Uh,
Or ever.
yeah, I know.
Truth has not been one of his stronger points.
No.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely gotten worse. I mean, I've been insulated from it because I literally have left the house like 3 times since last year. So, but like half the Asians I know have experienced something, where like somebody will yell at them or whatever. Like, my parents were afraid to leave the house because they didn't want to have to deal with that. And then, which sucks. And yeah, I mean, I think Vancouver police said since last March, Asian hate crimes have gone up 717%. It's like we're the new Bitcoin. Yeah, it's bad. But it's not like, like it's not new,
No.
like racism is not new. It's just everybody, and the racism against Asians is not new, but this is a different flavor because it used like the racism against Asians used to be a lot more like sort of passive and I guess not as violent. But now when you're throwing in anger and fear because like people think we've taken something from them, like we did this to them and we are the ones responsible for making their lives worse or whatever, then yeah, people do real irrational things. And so yeah, it sucks. And the only way out of it is just education and just talk about it like the way we are talking about it now, and just being like, listen, and more representation and more inclusion. I think like Aziz Ansari talked about this on a Saturday Night monologue, SNL monologue, where it's just like every time they show like a brown person on screen, it always comes with that scary music, like, and it was like, look, if you just showed like 4 guys eating like tacos like it's all the time, because that's really what it is in reality. It's like we're not out there like like plotting terrorist attacks or like spreading coronavirus or whatever. We're just trying to live our lives, But the problem is like on TV, you don't see that as much. And because of that, you get less people are exposed, and just like when people don't know, that's where you get fear. Like fear is conquered with knowledge.
Yeah. No, most definitely. Now to take something back to an earlier comment about incorporating the visual elements for your Zooms, etc. That is not just in pre-COVID times. There have been a few notable comedians who've included screens, etc.
Oh yeah, for sure.
One that came to mind, and it took me a little bit to remember his name, is Terry Clement, who's also
so funny. I love that dude.
He is so incredible. Have you ever seen the unsynced TV feed?
No, but I should.
You should. He did a tour where he's headlining, and so there's be 2 TVs on either side of the screen, and everything is matched up with him completely until at one point he on stage pauses, but the screens keep on going, and you see him doing the jokes still. And then you begin to hear the inner monologue in his head, and he crawls into the fetal position on the stage. Why it's just a brilliant use. I mean, and the amount of stagecraft, et cetera, that takes to do that.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing about like, like I wouldn't say I was the first to do that.
No, but I'm saying the fact that you like you were able to piece all that together to do that as part of those Zoom shows to give that added value in, again, going back to your engineer salesperson task, like what can I do to grab their attention and keep them in?
Yeah.
That's a brilliant way to be analytical about it, and funny, to work on the craft. I think that's a very brilliant kind of thing. And task writing. Now, your job right now is task writing, pretty much, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Did you ever do much task writing beforehand? You did the Winnipeg Comedy Festival, and to get into that, for those who aren't aware, they release the topics, and then we've got about 4 weeks, is it? I think, to get the deadline to get clips into them, in
Roughly.
front of
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
live audience, with your jokes on that topic. Now, when you did your Winnipeg Comedy Festival, did you repurpose any material, or did you write all new material?
It was all new material. Actually, the first time I did the Winnipeg Comedy Festival, it was I pitched them a concept for a set. Like I was like,
Like matching the topic, or
yeah.
yeah.
So like the topic was about Canada, like A material. So I was like, well, what's CBC going to want? So I was like, okay, I'm going to do, this is about like the Chinese, like as the first generation immigrant, like the perspective of like me having these like dual sides to me, like Asian this, and then like my experience melding the two. And then ultimately, like it ends with like, what is the synthesis of this? Like, what is a Chinese Canadian? Like, what does that mean in the comparison to like America, and how like our patriotism differs, that sort of thing, right? That was the concept. And I divided up into like 5 sections, because that's just how I write. Like I write in bits, which are like a minute and a half to like 2.5 minutes long, roughly. And then, which also works really well for a Sirius XM radio play. So,
and you've got this clocked.
So I write in those sections, and then so I had like the 5 bits. I was like, these are the bits. Like these are the jokes, like the premises for the jokes, but that's literally all I had. I had 5 premises for jokes and like how they fit together, and I just sent that off. And then Dean Jenkinson was like, "Hey, like this is great. We like the idea. Could you film the set and send it over?" I was like, "Okay. How long do I have?" They're like, "Oh, a week." I was like, "Okay." So then I literally had to write 10 minutes of TV ready material. I had to like write it, test it, film it. I did it in 5 days, and and then that's how I got it. That was my first festival, actually. And I got lucky, actually, is what happened, because like, like with writing, like it takes some time to get to like a closer that like works consistently.
Yeah.
And then like a lot of times, like if you have that, you just work the rest of the set around it. Like I have this thing, and it's like, boom, this is an applause break. It's gonna work. It's so clear.
You have to have that, like that, that 10-second joke, that 12-second joke at the top to grab everyone's attention.
Yeah.
To prove that you're worth listening to.
Yes.
And then the applause break at the end.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like so, the 10, 12-second
standard.
joke off the top, that's the second hardest part. But like the hardest part is that closer, like that button, that thing at the end. And I got real lucky that I nailed it on the first day. And I was like, okay, thank God I have that. Like, so I don't have to worry about that part. And then everything else I had to like refine. And actually, by the time I sent it to them, and I was like, hey, listen, guys, full disclosure, when you asked me to do this, I had nothing. But if you like what I could do in 5 days, imagine how this will be refined in 3 months.
Yeah.
And then when they said, yeah, that's great, we're going to book you, then I was like, okay. And then the work began. Like by the time I got on stage, like the set was probably like 60% of it was different.
That comes from the editing standpoint, going back and testing it in front of the audience.
Yeah.
Listening to those tapes, coming off and circling what worked best.
Exactly. It's an iterative process. It's an iterative process. It's trial and error.
Comedy is sourdough. It's alive. It's alive and constantly growing.
And sometimes jokes don't get off the ground. We call those non-starters. Oh, God. Fired.
No, you're on fire. Just to remind everyone, theleonardchan.com. Go to the website. You can check out video clips of Leonard, read his little bio, everything, at the Leonard Chan on Instagram. Please check that out. If you want to support the channel, it's just running along the bottom. Just go to the link tree / Paul Ash. Anything that you donate is greatly appreciated. Even if you, and I understand it's tough times. If it's tough times, just hit the like button. It's over on this side. Hit the like button, subscribe. This channel is dedicated to nothing but talking about comedy and comedy writing. So please check that out. Support it. Subscribe. Leonard, do you have any final words that you want to throw? Is there something I should have asked you about that I did not?
I don't think so. We've covered a lot. You've been a very thorough interviewer, which is quite nice.
The Swedish massage in there.
Yeah.
I just made it creepy, like it was creepier before. I was creepy pretty much all the time, but I blame the mustache.
I'm jealous of your mustache. I can't grow it. I want to. I couldn't. I was hoping to get out of this pandemic, like with like a quarantine beard.
I
can't do it.
Truth of the matter was, I was like years ago. I was sick for about 2 months, and I grew a fairly patchy beard and mustache.
Yeah.
And I got an acting role where they asked me to shave the beard. And I shaved the beard, and then I tried to grow it back, and it like 2 weeks growth, and it's like a shadow. Like I haven't shaved for 3 days right now.
Wow.
And no one can tell where my eyebrows are either. That's the other thing. They see where my eyes are, but no one ever knows when I'm surprised. Like that's part. So
the eyebrows are there. They're a hint. They're a hint of an eyebrow.
A hint of an eyebrow.
Yeah.
It's definitely, Lynn is giving applause and thanks. Thank you very much, Lynn. But the thing is, I got this role. All right, I ended up like.
What was the role? Can you say?
It was.
Do you want to say? You don't have to.
Well, no, because I ended up getting other types of role. This one I actually was playing a grieving father in a true crime reenactment type thing.
Oh.
So I had to sort of match the physicality of the father who had a mustache. And but then after that, I started getting offers for like we need a sexual deviant. We need a I did a lot of true crime stuff, either as like to give the shout out here to pedophiles or cops. That was the two things
nice.
I got cast to play. It's paid the bills, and now I'm in everyone's home on commercials, so it's all
that's
different.
I mean, you know what? Like to be able to carve out a career doing anything in the arts is, you know, even if you are playing pedophiles, and get a brow pencil. Apparently,
Lynn has. Thank you very much for mentioning that, Lynn. I've had makeup people go over my eyebrows with mascara brushes, just because the hair is there. It's just they highlight it a little bit better. I never did well in kindergarten, so I don't know if I could color in convincingly. I don't want to get too high with one of them. There's just always be surprised.
Just like.
But. Yeah, thank you very much, Leonard. We're gonna Lynn, thank you very much for tuning in. Vong as well. Everybody who's tuned in, thank you very much. This has been powered by StreamYard. This is not a paid sponsorship, but they make it easy for everybody to be able to stream. There is a free version out there as well. Tell them I sent you, which probably will mean nothing to them, but we're gonna do that. I'm gonna end the broadcast now. Thank you. So do you have any Zoomies coming up?
No, I don't think so. Nothing public.
Nothing public,
a bunch of corporate
ones,
public,
which pay better than that, and they usually are better behaved.
And they can't leave.
And they can't leave.
They're like mandated by work to be there. It's great.
You can put a picture up in front of the camera. All right, we're gonna take off. Thank you. Next week, I'm Brian Aylward will be here from Thailand. So he's got a new special coming out on Netflix called Big in Asia. So he'll be here, and we're doing a bonus episode next week. at 2 p.m. on Thursday with Alison June Smith, who's in the UK, and so we don't want to keep her up too late. That's why it's at 2 p.m. on a Thursday. Thank you very much, Leonard Chan. I'm Paul Ash. This is They Talk